Welcome, everyone, to Mission Millennial Z Alpha Generations, where we share the other side of the creation story with today's youth. In today's continuation of our Lovingly Refuting Internet Atheist series, we're going to be discussing, or the title is, Who's Closed Minded on Origin of Life Research? Atheist or theist? Now, what turned me on to this topic, which gave me the idea for this topic, is a Facebook post in a group called, let's see, get the group up here, Creation versus Evolution Debate Group. I joined a couple of Facebook groups where things are discussed, and this one in particular posted something about a man named Francis Crick. Now, Francis Crick was an innovator on DNA research back in the 1950s. Brilliant man. And he did some fascinating work on the structure of DNA. Now, here's the quote. Now, just open it up so we can read it. Here's the quote. Biologists must constantly keep in mind that what they see was not designed, but rather evolved. Now, I think that baked into this statement is a predisposition, a begging the question that everything must be explained naturalistically. Now, not all atheists are closed minded, some are open minded, and not all theists are open minded, some are closed minded. But by and large, I think atheists, my experience being this, is that they are more closed minded than atheists are, or theists are typically. Now, I want to review what Francis Crick says and believes by quoting from a book. I'm going to do a brief review. An excellent book called by Stephen Meyer called Return of the God Hypothesis. 3 scientific discoveries that reveal the mind behind the universe. This is an excellent book. In fact, if you only have one book on apologetics, theistic apologetics, and he is a Christian, by the way, but he only gets into theism. He doesn't try to prove Christianity per se. If you only had one book to read or time to read one book, that would be it. It's very helpful for us laymen to sort out these very technical issues, things that go over the, us laymen's heads, to be frank. No one really understands these things, but some of these things are very easy to understand too. There's a combination of both. There's technical arguments and there's just common sense arguments that one can use to decipher these issues, distinguish what is right and what is wrong. And I'm also going to be quoting from a track that I wrote that we hand out on college campuses called The Great God versus Nothing Debate. I'm going to quote from the argument that I made on this track at the very end. So let's get right into Stephen Meyer's points on Crick's research. When Watson and Crick discovered the structure of DNA, they made a shocking discovery. DNA could store information in the form of a 4-character digital code. Their structural model of DNA showed that strings of precisely sequenced chemical subunits called nucleotide bases affixed along the interior of the DNA double helix backbone could store and transmit information. And we're talking about vast stores of information, by the way. We're talking about a complexity that's beyond. DNA is more complex than the space shuttle. It's more complex than the rocket that Elon Musk is trying to send to Mars, to colonize Mars. We're talking about something way beyond anything our engineers ever have done or designed. All right, let's move on. That was page 165. On page 181, Stephen continues. Since the 1980s, the crisis in origin of life research has only deepened, as Francis Crick lamented in 1981. An honest man, quoting Crick here, an honest man armed with all the knowledge available to us now could only state that in some sense the origin of life appears at the moment to be almost a miracle. So many are the conditions which have had to have been satisfied to get it going, end of quote. Now just think about that. If one would just take the common sense approach here, it looks like a miracle. If it's beyond anything we can do, our best, most talented engineers can do, if it's beyond anything like that, how could blind chances of nature pull off what we can't do with all our intelligence? And by the way, Crick does believe in intelligent design. He believes in panspermia. He actually believes, or heavily leans toward, he's deceased now, but he heavily leaned toward panspermia, that aliens must have did this. So he does believe in intelligent design, but not a supernatural intelligent designer. Interesting. Continue on here with the quote. In 2008, in the film Expelled, Richard Dawkins publicly acknowledged that, quote, we don't know, end of quote, how life originated in the first place, and even speculated the information in DNA might represent a signature of some kind of a designer. Not a divine designer, though. He proposed an intriguing possibility that an alien civilization evolved elsewhere in the cosmos and then designed and seeded the first life on Earth. Now, to me, this just cries out that there is a predisposition against theistic design, that we have to appeal to aliens, which they themselves would have had to evolve somewhere else. But so we can automatically determine that theism, a theistic supernatural God, would make much better sense of the evidence. And here's what I mean. I'm going to read from my track now called Argument Number 2. Again, this is the track, The Great God versus Nothing Debate. Now, if you want a copy of this, let me know. But we hand these out by the thousands. I'm hoping to get them out by the hundreds of thousands this year and onward. Argument number 2, DNA disproves Darwinism. In 1859, Charles Darwin wrote The Origin of the Species. He claimed by the mechanism of natural selection acting upon random mutations, the first self-replicating cell slowly evolved into all of today's living creatures, like a seed becoming a tree with many branches. But shockingly, Darwin never addressed his title, The Ultimate Origin of the Species. That is, how that so-called first cell got here. He just presumed its naturalistic origin to have a foundation upon which to build his atheistic theory. Now think about that. He writes a book called Origin of the Species and does not devote one sentence to how that first life got here, the origin of life. He doesn't discover it. He doesn't delve into that. Instead, he just presumes. He has to have a foundation to build his theory. You can't have evolution unless you have that first cell. So that is shocking. All right. He just presumed his naturalistic origin to have a foundation upon which to build his atheistic theory. Why? Naturalists cannot propose a plausible mechanism to explain the origin of the sophisticated, specified information in the DNA necessary to construct a first living cell, which is more complex than a spaceship. Just a few tiny grams of DNA can store all the information ever produced by mankind. Now, that's mind boggling, too. Think about that. How much storage is involved in DNA? A few tiny grams of it. Only minds produce such information. Therefore, the same intelligent mind who had fine tuned the universe also blueprinted the first life. Richard Dawkins inadvertently confirmed this. He stated, "Nobody has any idea how life started." Interview expelled, no intelligence allowed, which is Stephen Meyer just quoted that in his book there. I just read from that. Logic dictates that if scientists can't create one living cell with all the chemicals for life in hand within perfect laboratory conditions, then it's impossible for it to happen by chance in the hostile to life early Earth's atmosphere. But let's say, and here's the point, but let's say our brightest scientists finally produced a living cell after millions of hours of team effort. That would only prove our point. An intelligent designer is necessary to create complex life. Life wasn't created by a lucky lightning bolt striking Darwin's fanciful warm little pond, as our atheist friends suggest. So we will leave that here for now. And again, if you want more information on DNA, read Meyer's book. There's a lot of good books out there, but this one is really good. And I hope you like this video. If you do, hit the like button. It really does help our algorithm with YouTube. And please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, if you want more information like this. So have a good day, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.